Is it increasingly becoming clear that two standards seem to be at play? Swift hearings and protection from arrest for those seen as regime loyalists. For the rest, no protection from arrest, no bail. The most striking recent example, the case of the makers and cast of Tandav, who faced the prospect of arrest in multiple cases filed against them across India. And of the case of Munawar Faruqui, the comedian in jail in Madhya Pradesh now for several days for allegedly objectionable comments. Comments it's unclear if he ever made. Today, the Madhya Pradesh High Court Indore bench rejected Faruqi's bail. The court said the evidence collected suggests that prima facie, scurrilous, disparaging utterances outraging religious feelings of a class of citizens were made by the applicant. The counsel for Faruqui tried to submit that he did not utter anything as alleged. But the court said in the light of the statements of the complainant and the witnesses referred above, it's not a case of no evidence. The court went on to say that the constitutional duty of every citizen and of the states is to promote harmony. States must endeavor that the society is not polluted by negative forces. Similarly, this comes days after the Supreme Court refused to give protection from arrest for the makers of Tandav. The court rejected the plea by the Tandav cast and makers for protection from arrest. There are multiple cases against Tandav in different states, as we said. Now, lawyers for Tandav, which included Fali Nariman and Mukul Rohatgi, said that the filmmakers or the makers of the series have apologized. They've removed the content. They said that the serial is only a political satire. They said that Zishan Ayub, the actor, is just an actor under contract. The views expressed are of his character. They also referred to the Arnab Goswami case, where the court had granted protection citing personal liberty. But the court observed that freedom of speech is not absolute. They said that the actor accepted the contract after reading the script, so how can he not be liable? It also said you cannot hurt religious sentiments. Now, just to remind ourselves of what the Supreme Court had said in the Arnab Goswami case while granting him protection, it said it will be a travesty of justice if bail is not granted while the FIR is pending. If constitutional courts do not interfere, we are travelling the path of destruction. Governments should ignore them in reference to taunts on TV. We must send a message today to the high courts as well. Please exercise your jurisdiction to uphold personal liberty. If state governments target individuals, they must realize there is the apex court to protect the liberty of citizens. Now, this comes in the time when there are also questions over whether people like Munawar Faruqui actually said what they've been accused of saying. Remember, in the initial Munawar FIR, it did not name him as an accused. The police, despite the court's urging, failed to produce the case diary in court. Media reports actually suggested that the police said that the comedian was arrested for jokes he was going to make. The police later claimed that they were misquoted. Also, when one looks at some of the evidence that the police has submitted in court, it appears to be copy-paste. The witness statements are almost exact copies of each other, witnesses making near identical statements claiming to have heard Munawar practicing the offensive comedy routine, not actually making it. Let's just put those two statements side by side. These are by two individuals side by side that you can see on the screen. One is by someone called Kunal, the other is by Shubhendra. We've translated this from the Hindi, but it's exactly line by line almost the same. 5 of my friends and I were told that we should get tickets after paying a boy named Edwin. Then friend Eklavya and I paid rupees 2,000 and bought 4 tickets. Shubhendra and I stayed outside and stood in the gallery. Just then the show started, and outside Munawar Faruqui began practicing and sang a song using extremely objectionable words for Lord Ram and Sita. There also appear to be, in addition to this, contradictions in these statements. The complainant in the case, who is the son of a local BJP leader, says the offensive comments were made on stage by Munawar. The witnesses, though, are now saying that the offensive comments were made by him during the rehearsal. Similarly, in the case of Tandav, it's really a question of whether this is herd sentiment or is it politics. It's largely either BJP-ruled states or BJP netas who've taken a lead in filing FIRs. This despite multiple apologies by the Tandav team and by editing out those portions considered offensive. The BJP netas are pointedly naming the minority members of the cast and the crew when they're making these charges. The question was, what is the offensive part? That a character who plays Shiva in a play says the term Azadi, which has sparked this outrage, raising the question, is this manufactured outrage for political gain?